Hi, this is Introduction to Public Speaking, How to Plan and Deliver a Narrative Speech. My name is Shane Hare. I'm a graduate student at Cal State East Bay, and this presentation is for a mini lecture with activity for a communications course 6250 for fall 2014. The agenda will consist of my teaching method approach, the importance of public speaking, the class activity, narrative speech plan and delivery review, and then review of e-resources, and then we'll close out the presentation. The teaching method is basically following the processes of a metacognition self-directed learning process, which consists of the assessment, evaluate, planning, apply strategies, and reflection on the task. Also included here, I would like to merge the internet technologies with classroom experience to accommodate students' different learning style. With the use of technology, it also provides access to students outside the classroom to review the topic that was discussed in course to prepare them for their next class. What is a narrative speech? Well, a narrative speech is essentially a speech which tells a story in an organized format. Narrative speeches often deal with personal experiences. When is a narrative speech appropriate? This particular speech method is good or best works when presenting information about yourself to a group in any environment. The importance of public speaking. Well, it's great for personal introductions whenever you're in your classes, whenever you're talking to a group of people, or when you're at work. It helps students organize their thoughts. It's great for group discussions and academia throughout a lot of students' lives in academia. It's important for them to have a present their information in a particular format in class. A lot of the classes are taught in groups. There's a lot of collaborative collaborations between the students, and then most importantly is the value it adds to the professional development of a student. And in a lot of jobs, it is a job requirement. We're going to review a video of professional public speakers, and let's look at their process on how they prepare themselves for a speech. Wow, that's inspiring to see these professionals prepare to give their speech. So, what are the components of a narrative speech? Well, first and foremost, there's a basic framework and outline that narrative speech speakers must follow. There's the introduction, which introduces the topic to the audience. There's the body, which includes three main points in an organized manner. And then there's the conclusion, which basically talks about the summary and the main points and your thesis, your main point of all, right? And then there's other components which are essential to your speech, which is the motivation behind your speech. It's important to practice, practice, and practice again and again and again and prepare. And then the main component of the speech is really the story that you're telling. Some other indirect components of the speech is the support. You see in a video of the one gentleman who had the support of his wife, had the support of his mentor. They heard his speech, they helped him, they critiqued him, they helped him with his timing, and so on. And then there's the audience, the key component, right? You're speaking to get you're speaking in front of an audience to gather their attention, to get their attention. At this point of the presentation, I will ask the question to the students: why are these components? Uh, why are these components in public speaking important? This is basically to review what's just been discussed, and then hopefully, with this question, we will begin to engage the students. Topics and time requirements for a narrative speech. These will be suggested topics for the students, which will consist of advising them to develop their narrative speech around current topics and how it impacts them directly or indirectly. Talk about have them talk about or present their involvement in sports or hobbies, topics around their work, and then the student, their experience as a student. So these are very close topics to the students that they could relate to and maybe be more comfortable to talk to. So I'll provide these topics for them to work within. And then, of course, there will be no disrespecting others in class. It must be very clear to the student that there will be no disrespect of any other person in the class as they're giving their speech. For the purpose of the narrative speech is basically to talk about themselves and their life experience. And with regards to time, the narrative speech will be 2 to 3 minutes for the student to complete their speech. And how do we deliver speeches and meet time requirements will be a question to the group. Some options here would be time to time yourself, write your speeches out, record yourself, and practice. At this point of the course, we will begin soliciting volunteers for the narrative speech exercise. In a normal class setting, we will have each student give their narrative speech, and as you see here, there's a outline. There's the narrative speech format, which is your introduction, your three main point, and then your conclusion. After the students give their presentations, I will then provide feedback on what was great about their speeches, what was not so great about their speeches, but really the exercise would really get them to talk about themselves and get comfortable with talking about themselves in front of others. And the review portion of the presentation would be to ask the students what is a narrative speech. And then from your metacognition perspective or process flows, this deals with the assessment of the task. Another question would be, when is a narrative speech necessary? Why is public speaking important? The planning your speech. the outline, the planning, the strategy, and the evaluation of the metacognitive self-directed learning process. As we all know, that the metacognition refers to the process reflecting on and directing one's own thinking, basically learning to be self-regulating and a lifelong learner through these learning processes. And then also, it's important for the students to know their audience, practice, 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 which includes several of the processes within the self-directed learning process, which is evaluate strength and weaknesses, monitor performance, strategies, and monitoring. Time is a requirement for narrative speech. There's a 2 minute, 2 to 3 minute time requirement, and then the topics. It's important for the students to keep them positive, interesting, and relevant. And this will fall under the planning, strategies, and monitoring under the metacognition processes. And then there's the resources, some TED Talks. These can be used as resources for students to go review topics and look at other public speakers. And then the Toastmasters.org website, that actually provides public speaking tips, and then a vast video library of public speak, public speaking techniques and advice. And then within this would also be a link to my YouTube or in my YouTube station with these classes so that students can review on their during their own time. That concludes the presentation. Thank you for listening.